The sleek spacecraft Adventurer settled uneasily on the vibrant surface of Zyralia, its metallic exterior glinting under the alien sun. Ethan Price adjusted his visor and peered out the viewport. The scenery was more stunning than he could have ever anticipated. Towering flora that twisted skyward, colors more vivid than his imagination could capture. He felt a thrill of excitement. "All right, team, listen up." Captain Hayes called from the cockpit, redirecting Ethan's attention. "We're here to investigate the atmospheric anomaly. However, maintain a level of caution. We don't know what we're dealing with." Ethan grabbed his tools and made sure his communication device was functioning properly. He felt like he needed to prove himself today. Often overlooked by his crew, he was determined to show that he was more than just the ship's technician. He was ready for action. As the crew disembarked, 3 others joined the captain: Lieutenant Jenna Wells, the ship's biologist, Sergeant Marcus Elwood, the heavy lifter, and Dr. Harlow, the mission's lead scientist. The team fanned out, scanning their surroundings with various devices. "Hey, Ethan," Jenna called, grinning as she adjusted her equipment. "What do you think? Should we start cataloging these plants? They look like something out of a fantasy novel. Just don't touch anything until we know it's safe." Marcus teased, looking around with a serious expression. "I don't want you turning into a giant mushroom." Ethan chuckled, thankful for the camaraderie. "We're looking for new life, not a science experiment gone wrong." Suddenly, a soft rustling noise from the nearby trees drew Ethan's attention. He looked up, instinctively tightening his grip on his gear. Did anyone else hear that? The crew fell silent, their eyes darting toward the source of the noise. Before anyone could respond, a figure emerged, a tall, slender being with skin that shimmered like water under the light. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. "Whoa," Jenna breathed, eyes wide. "What in the universe is that?" "Stand back," Captain Hayes ordered, raising a hand. "We don't know if it's hostile." Ethan stepped forward slightly, heart racing. The figure, the alien girl, had mesmerizing luminescent eyes that reflected the colors around her. The way she moved was graceful, reminiscent of a dancer. Ethan felt drawn to her, captivated. "Can we communicate?" Ethan attempted, speaking slowly as he gestured. "Hello?" The alien tilted her head, a quizzical expression flickering across her face. She stepped closer, cautiously, her gaze intense. "Stay together," the captain instructed, turning back to the rest of the crew. "Lock weapons just in case." "Hold on," Ethan said, feeling an impulse to connect rather than confront. "I think she's curious. Isn't that what we wanted? To make contact? She could be dangerous." Marcus interjected, gripping his weapon tighter. "Or she could save our lives," Ethan countered. "Let me try." Taking a deep breath, Ethan took a tentative step forward, lowering his hands to show he meant no harm. "I'm Ethan," he said softly, trying to radiate calm. Just a human. We come in peace." The alien girl blinked, her wide eyes showing flickers of intelligence. She lifted a hand, fingers delicately moving in the air as if weaving an invisible thread. Ethan watched, mesmerized. "What's she doing?" Jenna whispered. "I think she's trying to communicate." Ethan replied, excitement bubbling in his chest. "It looks similar to sign language." The alien girl suddenly pointed towards a luminous flower nearby, then back to Ethan, repeating the motion. A soft sound escaped her lips, melodious and strange, like a song sung under the stars. Okay," Ethan said, his heart pounding. "Maybe she's asking about the flora?" "You're just guessing," Marcus murmured, though there was no hostility in his tone. Ignoring him, Ethan knelt near the glowing flower, carefully brushing his fingers over its petals. "I think it's beautiful," he said, looking up at the girl again. "Do you like this?" Her eyes sparkled and she nodded slowly. The alien girl moved closer, peering at the flower as if it held secrets to share. Ethan noticed the way she glanced at him, as though wondering if they were allies. A strange feeling washed over him, an essence of connection. With a smile, he pointed to himself and said, "Ethan." "You." "Era," she said, her voice lilting, the sound ethereal. "Era," he repeated, testing the name on his tongue. "That's beautiful." Suddenly, Captain Hayes stepped closer, arms crossed. "Ethan, what are you doing? We can't just stand here and now. Just give me a moment." Ethan interrupted, not breaking eye contact with Era. "I think we can learn from each other." "Are you out of your mind?" Marcus exclaimed, his forehead creased in frustration. "You're risking all of our lives." But the softness of Era's expression seemed to calm Ethan's nerves. She leaned forward, her gaze focused intently on him. "Maybe we can document her behavior," Captain Jenna suggested hesitantly, drawn in by the enchanting exchange. "This might be an opportunity for scientific research." Hayes glanced at Jenna, then back to the two of them. "Fine, but keep your distance. We don't know what she's capable of." Ethan nodded, not taking his eyes off Era. "We can approach this gently." I can feel she wants to communicate. Era mimicked Ethan's gesture, the way he pointed to the flower before looking back toward the surrounding flora. She gestured toward a tall, leafy plant, her expression filled with excitement. Ethan's heart swelled at her enthusiasm. I think she's showing us something, he said, eager to learn. Stay close, everyone, Captain Hayes instructed, though his tone softened when he saw Ethan's determination. As they followed Era, Ethan felt a sense of purpose flood through him. Here they were, on the brink of discovery with a being who might change everything they knew. They traversed through the lush landscape, and Ethan couldn't help but notice the way the forest came alive around them. I think she wants us to taste the fruits, he said, eyeing a cluster hanging from a low branch. Just don't eat anything until we can analyze it, Hayes cautioned. Era smiled and plucked a fruit, holding it out to Ethan, her eyes glittering in invitation. Are you serious? Marcus sighed, shaking his head. Come on, Ethan urged, stepping forward. Taking the fruit from Era's outstretched hand, he felt an undeniable spark between them. It's okay, he reassured her, turning the fruit in his hands. If it's safe for you, it's safe for us. Era watched in anticipation as he took a bite, bright juice dribbling down his chin. Tastes like a mix of melon and citrus. Her expression lit up and she mimicked his gesture, biting into her own fruit. Laughter bubbled up as her eyes widened with surprise and delight. The ambient sounds of Zyralia filled the air, vibrant and alive, as the crew became immersed in a moment they had never anticipated. Together, they explored a world teeming with possibilities, and from that moment on, everything changed. Chapter 2: Understanding. The vibrant world of Zyralia thrummed with life as Ethan and his crew continued to explore, guided by Era, the alien girl. The more they followed her through the lush foliage, the more the landscape seemed to pulse with energy, and Ethan could hardly contain his excitement. Can you believe this place? Jenna exclaimed, adjusting her equipment while keeping pace. It's like a living painting. Just wait until we bring samples back to Earth, Harlow said, jotting down notes furiously. I never imagined we'd encounter life forms like this. It's extraordinary. Ethan was mesmerized by the way Era moved through the underbrush with grace, darting from one fascinating plant to another. She finally stopped near a cluster of radiant flowers, brushing her fingers against their petals. What are they? Ethan asked, wondering how much more there was to learn. They look like they might release some kind of spores, Harlow noted, gripping his scanner. We need to be careful. I'd say they're harmless, Jenna chimed in, looking at Era. You're not allergic to these, are you? Era smiled, motioning to the flowers and then back to the group. It was clear she wanted to share their beauty. Ethan stepped closer, admiring her interaction. She's inviting us to take a closer look. I can feel it. Just don't get too close, Ethan, Marcus cautioned, his brow furrowed. We have no way to know how these plants affect humans. Ignoring Marcus, Ethan approached Era. Can we? He asked, looking back at her for reassurance. She nodded enthusiastically, her excitement infectious. All right, but be careful, Hayes said, watching warily as Ethan leaned in closer to inspect the flowers. Remember, this is still an alien world. Ethan plucked a vibrant bloom, the colors swirling together in a mesmerizing display. Wow, this is incredible, he said, looking at Era. What do you call these? Flacha, Era replied, mimicking their beauty with her hands, swirling them in small arcs. Flacha, Ethan repeated, trying to get the pronunciation right. I like that. As they explored, Ethan felt a gradual shift in the atmosphere. The crew seemed more and more fascinated by Era and Zyralia, their initial hesitations fading. It was like the warm sun drew them all in, and his instincts told him there was potential for something beautiful here. So, how do you grow these? Jenna inquired, kneeling down to study the flora closely. Do they thrive on the humidity or magic? Marcus joked, earning a playful glare from Jenna. What? You know what they say about alien worlds. Ethan laughed, but Era took the discussion seriously. She practiced gestures, pointing to her heart and then to the plants, creating a rhythm with her movements. She's saying it's about care, he interpreted, watching intently. Like love makes things grow. Love? Marcus snickered, but his tone was less mocking as he began to see the depth in Era's actions. Era flashed a playful grin, mimicking a watering motion with her hands. Watering, nurturing, Jenna chimed in, her eyes sparkling with understanding. It's more than just science to her. Exactly. Ethan replied, thrilled to find a common thread. It's a connection like we have with our own crops. Era nodded, beaming with pride. Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the forest, followed by a gust of wind shaking the branches. What was that? Hayes asked, scanning the area. Let's not panic, Jenna suggested, trying to maintain calm. It could just be a storm. We should find shelter. I can't believe we're caught in a storm already. Marcus groaned. Why is it always the case? Ethan shook his head, trying to focus. Era, do you know a safe place to go? He inquired urgently. Ira's expression turned serious and she pointed toward a cluster of rocky outcroppings in the distance. Jair, she affirmed, her tone indicating urgency. Is that where we should go? Ethan pressed, glancing at Hayes for confirmation. Let's follow her lead, the captain decided, gesturing for them to move. Stick close, everyone. As they hurried along, the winds grew fiercer, sending leaves swirling around them. Era moved with precision, darting ahead to clear the path. Ethan admired her skill, noting how she seemed to instinctively know where to go. Once they reached the rocky outcropping, they huddled together, trying to shield themselves from the elements. The wind howled and the sky darkened ominously above them. Great, Marcus grumbled, frowning at the encroaching storm. Just when I thought we'd get a lucky break. Stop complaining, Jenna said, shooting him a look. We've made it to safety. Only for now, until the real storm hits, Marcus replied, still fuming. Let's focus on Era for a bit, Ethan suggested, turning to the alien girl whose expression was watchful and attentive. What can we do? Era moved closer to him, her gaze steady. She placed her hand lightly on his arm, her touch warm and reassuring, and made a deep, calming sound. That's soothing, isn't it? Ethan noticed, feeling his own heartbeat slow in response. You're trying to calm us down. As the wind howled outside, she continued her melodic sounds, and Ethan found himself getting lost in her presence. Can you teach us that? Jenna asked, now intrigued. What does it mean? It's a way to bring peace, Ethan responded, feeling an unusual connection growing. To find strength in the chaos. Seems fitting right now, Marcus muttered, crossing his arms. After a moment, Jenna and Harlow joined in, mimicking Ira's sounds under Ethan's guidance. The three of them formed a rhythm, trying to synchronize their voices with Ira's enchanting melody. The storm raged on outside, yet within their small shelter an unexpected sense of unity began to form, not just among the humans but with Era as well. I think we're actually doing something good here, Ethan said, his spirit lifting. He caught Ira's gaze, and in that moment, behind the storm, they shared a spark of understanding. As the winds howled around them, the connection between Ethan and Era deepened. They weren't just a technician and an alien anymore, they were collaborators emerging from the chaos together, each drawing strength from the other. Together, he said softly, smiling at her. We're stronger together. Era nodded, a true understanding passing between them as the storm roared on. They would find their way through this, whatever it took. Together. Chapter 3, The Storm Within. The howling winds pounded against the rocky shelter, creating an almost rhythmic beat that matched the intensity of the storm swirling outside. Inside, Ethan, Era, and the crew huddled together, utilizing the small space to not just seek protection but to generate warmth and familiarity amid the chaos. Okay, so we're kind of stuck, Marcus said, his arms crossed tightly across his chest. What do we do now? First, we need to keep focused, Hayes replied, leaning against the wall. We can't lose our cool. Easier said than done, Marcus muttered under his breath. Jenna shot him a look. Just look at Era. She seems unfazed. If she can stay calm, so can we. Ethan glanced at Era, who appeared serene, her glowing skin illuminating the darkness of the cave. She sat cross-legged on the ground, her hands resting lightly in her lap as if she were meditating. Ira's got this, he said, smiling at her. Era responded with a gentle nod, her bright eyes sparkling even in the dim light. She reached out her hand, palm up, and plucked an invisible thread from the air. She demonstrated a small motion that resembled weaving, bringing her fingers together in a rhythmic dance. What's she doing? Harlow asked, intrigued. Ethan squatted beside her. I think she's trying to create a sense of focus. He mimicked her motion, his fingers cautiously mimicking the threads she seemed to be weaving. Like creating a connection between us. Let's give it a shot, Jenna suggested, kneeling alongside them. One by one, the crew joined in, and soon, they were mimicking Ira's movements, drawing invisible lines between themselves. What's this going to do? Marcus asked, still skeptical. It's about feeling connected, Ethan replied. Even if we're trapped, we can work together. We can create something. Ira's eyes grew brighter as she smiled, obviously thrilled at their participation. She raised her voice softly, creating harmonious sounds that filled the space like a soothing lullaby. The tensions that had built from their earlier fears began to melt away, replaced by an atmosphere of unity and calm. See? Ethan said, glancing at Marcus. We're building something together. Marcus shrugged but couldn't hide a faint smile as he joined the motions. All right, I'll admit this isn't half-ad. Focus on the rhythm, Jenna encouraged, her voice harmonizing with Ethan's. Feel it, let it flow. As they swayed and moved in synchronization with Ira's melodic hum, Ethan felt the ambience of the storm shift. Outside, the winds continued to howl, but within their shelter, a sense of calm enveloped them. As the improvisational weaving continued, Ethan's eyes locked with Era's. It was a momentary connection, as if they were sharing a thought. He felt a spark that made his heart race. There was something genuine between them, something powerful that transcended language. "So, how do we keep this going?" Marcus asked, breaking the momentary stillness. "I think we just keep moving," Ethan suggested. "But we also need to communicate. Era, can you guide us?" At his call, Era leaned forward, gesturing with wide sweeping motions, encouraging everyone to let go of their worries. She seemed to draw the storm's intensity into her own rhythm. "Follow her lead," Ethan said, his excitement growing. "Move as one organism, just like these plants do out there." "Kind of like a dance?" Jenna asked, her eyes lighting up. "That sounds fun." "Yes," Ethan responded. "A dance of unity." Era encouraged them with a bright smile, continuing to weave her invisible threads. The crew seemed to feel something shift, as though they were all part of a larger picture. "All right, let's dance," Jenna exclaimed, her laughter echoing in the cave. Marcus chuckled, finally getting involved. "Why not? I guess if we're going to be stuck here, we might as well make the best of it." As they moved to the rhythm of Era's voice, laughter replaced the seriousness that had crept in earlier. They followed her motion, letting their bodies sway and twist alongside the enchanting sound. "Is this what you do on your world?" Ethan asked Era as he mirrored her movements, his voice almost lost in the music. "Nima Yui Li," Era replied, glancing back at him with a knowing smile. "What does that mean?" he asked, intrigued by the color in her voice. "Dance of life," she clarified with simple gestures embodying the spirit of celebration. "Dance of life," he echoed, his heart swelling with appreciation for her culture. "I love that." The embrace of unity ignited a deeper understanding. They were no longer just a crew of human explorers, they faced something bigger than themselves together. Each sound, each movement painted a vivid tapestry of belonging and shared experience. "Okay, I'm in," Marcus said, his earlier skepticism replaced by enthusiasm. "Let's make this a dance party." The group erupted into laughter as they danced in their rocky refuge, letting the storm pass outside. The air felt lighter, charged with a sense of liberation. After a while, as they spun and swayed, Ethan felt the bond deepening, especially between himself and Era. A momentary connection sparked each time their hands brushed together, setting his heart racing. As if sensing his thoughts, Era gazed at him intently, eyes sparkling. The world outside faded, and all that remained was the rhythm of their movements. "Ethan," she said softly, her voice almost drowned out by the storm's roar. "Yes," he managed, caught up in the intimacy of the moment. She took a small step closer, drawing him into her orbit. "Come." He hesitated for a split second but then mirrored her movement. They moved closer together, their bodies aligned in a tapestry of motion as the music of their hearts intertwined. "Not bad for scientists, huh?" Marcus T. Han replied, glancing at Era, who smiled back, her expression radiant. As the storm continued to rage outside, they found comfort in each other. The light from their shared laughter seemed to pierce through the darkness, transcending the heavy downpour. Together, Ethan whispered again to Era, feeling the profound bond between them. "Together," she echoed softly, her gaze unwavering. In that moment, surrounded by swirling winds and their newfound unity, Ethan realized it was not just a dance. It was a weaving of lives, cultures, and dreams, creating something extraordinary. Chapter 4. Leaving the Cavern. The storm subdued, retreating into a distant rumble. Inside the rocky refuge, the air felt lighter, almost electric with the shared laughter and energy from their dance. Ethan looked around at his crew, their faces glowing with newfound camaraderie. Era's presence had transformed a potentially dire situation into one of connection and joy. "Now what?" Marcus asked, glancing towards the entrance, where the fading sounds of wind could still be heard. "Let's check outside," Hayes suggested, adjusting his gear as he prepared to lead the way. "We need to assess the situation and see what the storm left behind." "Agreed," Jenna said, straightening her equipment. "I'll take readings. There may be changes in the atmosphere we should monitor." Ethan stood close to Era, exchanging glances that spoke volumes. "Are you ready?" he asked her gently. She nodded, her eyes shining with excitement. The crew stepped cautiously out of the cavern, emerging into the now clearing skies of Zyralia. The vibrant hues of the landscape seemed even more vivid under the changing light. Ethan took a deep breath, inhaling the fresh, earthy scent that lingered in the air. "It's incredible," Jenna exclaimed, wide-eyed, scanning the horizon. Look at that! Glistening droplets clung to the nearby plants, refracting light like tiny prisms. Bright flowers danced gently in the soft breeze, the atmosphere vibrant with a renewed energy. Nature's way of cleaning up, Marcus said, grinning as he pulled out a scanner. Let's gather some samples before we head back to the ship. Good idea, Harlow agreed. We don't know when we can return to Zyralia. Ethan turned to Era, hoping she would share in their enthusiasm. What do you think? She stepped forward, pointing toward a cluster of glowing mushrooms that had emerged in the wake of the storm. The bioluminescent fungi pulsed with colors that shifted as they moved. Are those safe? Harlow asked, peering at the mushrooms with a mix of curiosity and caution. Let's find out, Marcus replied confidently. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Famous last words, Jenna chimed in. Ethan knelt beside the mushrooms, eyeing them closely. Are these like the flacha flowers in any way? He asked Era, hoping for guidance. She inspected the fungi closely, tilting her head, then mimicked a sampling motion, pretending to take a bite. Okay, I think we have something here, Ethan said with a chuckle. This could be a culinary discovery for our people. Or a reason not to eat mushrooms ever again, Marcus quipped. Ignoring him, Harlow took out a small cutting tool and carefully snipped off one of the mushrooms. Let's bring a few back and analyze them, he said, placing them in a protective sample container. Just don't go sampling them yourself, all right? Jenna teased. As they continued to gather samples, Ethan felt an undercurrent of excitement. Ira's presence made everything feel more profound. The way she flowed between the plants, pointing and demonstrating, was captivating. Show us more, Ethan urged. What else is here? She responded instantly, darting ahead and glancing back at him, gesturing for him to follow. The crew moved as a unit, intrigued by her enthusiastic guidance. Wait up, Marcus called, struggling to keep pace as he fumbled with his equipment. You're leaving the rest of us behind. Just trying to catch the best sights. Jenna shouted back, laughing. Era paused at a bubbling stream, the water sparkling as it spilled over smooth stones. She bent down, cupping her hands to drink, then offered her hands to Ethan. Water is safe? He asked, trying to gauge her reaction. She nodded, and when he bent to drink, he felt a surge of energy. The sensation was refreshing, unlike anything he had ever experienced. How is it? Marcus asked, eyeing him with both skepticism and curiosity. It's amazing, Ethan exclaimed. It tastes just right. Crisp and pure. Let me, Marcus said, leaning down to take a sip. Not bad. Okay, maybe this place isn't so terrible after all. That's the spirit, Jenna said, smirking as she nudged Marcus. Don't get too comfortable, Hayes said, scanning the area. We still have to get back to the ship. Just one more stop? Ethan requested, glancing at Era, who lit up at the idea. Ooh, I know just the place, she exclaimed, turning on her heel and leading them further into the lush greenery. As they traversed glades bursting with colors and scents, Ethan felt completely captivated by Ira's enthusiasm. Every plant she pointed to seemed to tell a story, drawing the crew closer together as they learned from her. Do you have a place where humans and Zyralians can meet? Jenna asked as they walked. Era paused, her eyes brightening even more. She gestured towards a vast field filled with iridescent plants that swayed in unison. A gathering place, Ethan interpreted with a smile. That's what you meant? Yes. Look. Era pointed towards a clearing where large, flat stones were arranged in a circle. What's that? Harlow mused, stepping closer for a better look. Era motioned for them to gather around the stones, her expression eager. She seemed to shine with anticipation. Ethan felt a rush of excitement. Is this your meeting spot? Jair. Era said proudly, nodding vigorously. Jair, Ethan repeated. It's beautiful. Overhead, the sky began to clear, revealing shimmering clouds that transitioned from dark to soft blues. The ambience felt magical, almost alive with energy. That'd be a great spot for field observations, Harlow suggested. More like a picnic, Marcus added, smiling mischievously. We need to have a good meal powered by this weird mushroom. Focus, Marcus, Jenna warned, rolling her eyes but unable to suppress a grin. We should really document this location. Soon, they settled around the stone circle, encouraged by Ira's gestures. She mimicked sitting by a fire, creating a comforting image of warmth and gathering. We'll need to map the spot for future reference, Harlow said, pulling out his device. This could be important data. Ethan caught Ira's gaze. You mean a home for us and for you? Everyone together? Yes, she replied, her enthusiasm palpable, nodding as she mimicked drawing in the air. Let's take notes, Jenna urged, pulling out her device and beginning to input observations. This is exactly what we need. Ethan hastily began documenting Ira's gestures, finding himself lost in her expressions as she demonstrated how gatherings were held. Do you invite everyone? He asked. Ira nodded, then gestured to the surrounding area, illustrating not just the creatures but the warmth shared in moments of joy. We could do that, Ethan mused. How amazing would it be to have a shared banquet here, merging our cultures? Pretty epic, Marcus said, glancing around. Just make sure it comes with your special mushroom dish. Maybe we could all bring something. Jenna suggested, enthusiasm in her voice. Something from Earth and from Zyralia. Now we're talking, Ethan replied, locking eyes with Era, feeling a spark of understanding. It'll be a celebration of our worlds. Era responded with a bright smile and enthusiastic nods, clearly thrilled at the thought. You know what? Marcus said, chuckling. This could turn into something really special. A series of gatherings, sharing stories over meals. Just no giant mushrooms playing tricks, Harlow joked, breaking the tension. Maybe we'll have some glowing drinks too, Jenna added, giggling. As laughter filled the air and ideas swirled around them, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The bond between all of them, was stronger than ever, woven through shared experiences and the promise of what was to come. Sitting in a circle, the crew from Earth and Era from Zyralia embraced the possibility of a future filled with stories, gatherings, and newfound connections. Here in this enchanted place, worlds collided, and from it all, something extraordinary was born. Chapter 5, Whispers of the Heart. The sun began its descent, casting a warm golden glow over the Zyralian landscape. Ethan and the crew stood in the middle of the clearing they had discovered, surrounded by the iridescent plants swaying gently in the calming breeze. Today was the day they'd put their plan into action, a gathering that would symbolize their new friendship with Era and the depths of their shared experiences. Okay, we need a plan, Marcus announced, clapping his hands together. We've got a whole lot of cooking to do before everyone arrives. Agreed, Jenna said, rummaging through her equipment. We should divide our tasks. I can gather more of those mushrooms. They not only taste amazing, but Era said they have other properties. I'll set up a makeshift fire pit, Harlow volunteered, surveying the area for suitable stones. We can cook the mushrooms and whatever else we decide to fry up. I'll help you with that, Ethan chimed in, eager to lend a hand. But first, we have to designate some space for everyone to sit. Era stepped forward, her eyes sparkling with excitement. She gestured towards the stones they had found earlier, an idea forming behind her bright gaze. Great idea. Ethan responded, nodding. We can arrange the stones in a way that makes it feel inviting. A circle would work well. Yes, I love that. Jenna exclaimed, her enthusiasm palpable. It echoes the community theme we're going for. As they rearranged the stones, Marcus looked around, a playful smile creeping across his face. Anyone got any Earth snacks we can add to the menu? Jenna smirked. Like your instant ramen? Really setting the bar high there. Hey, it has its charm. Marcus defended himself, chuckling. We should at least have something fun to mix into the feast. Ethan laughed, continuing to arrange the stones. Well, we do have some dried fruits and nuts. Those will be easy to pack. Dried fruit? Whoa, fancy. Marcus said with mock surprise. Count me in for the gourmet experience. Era watched with amusement, her laughter chiming in with the gathering. The warmth of camaraderie surrounded them like a soft blanket, and Ethan felt grateful that they were building something meaningful together. With the stones set up, Harlow began gathering smaller twigs and dry leaves to start the fire. Just a matter of time until we're cooking delicious food instead of just talking about it, he declared, striking a match. You can do it, Harlow. Jenna cheered, moving to his side as the flames sprang to life, crackling and popping. Nice job, Marcus added, clapping his hands. Now we're getting somewhere. As the flames danced, Ethan glanced at Era, who stood a short distance away. Her expression was one of sheer joy, excitement radiating from her. He approached her, his heart racing a bit. Hey, what are you thinking? Ethan asked, lowering his voice, making sure the others were engaged with the fire. She pointed to the stones and then mimicked a gathering motion with her hands. Jair, she said, her voice light, inviting him to understand the significance of this space. Right, he replied, smiling. This is your space too. We're all part of this now. Era nodded, stepping closer to the fire, her eyes reflecting the flames. There was something about that moment, the glow of the fire, the way both of them felt united in this endeavor that made Ethan's heart swell. Do you want to help with the cooking? He asked, gesturing back towards Harlow and Jenna, who were now preparing mushrooms near the fire. She stepped back, holding up her hands in a wait motion, then pointed towards a nearby grove of trees. Muna, she said, indicating something they needed. Muna? Ethan asked, tilting his head. With a grin, Era jogged off toward the grove, her movements fluid and graceful. He watched her go, a smile creeping onto his face, feeling the anticipation build. What was she up to? This could take a while, Marcus remarked as he surveyed the mushrooms bubbling in the pot. You think she's playing hide and seek? Knowing her, she's off finding something that will surprise us, Ethan replied, trying to hide his eagerness. I have a feeling it's going to be incredible. Jenna rolled her eyes playfully. You've got it bad, Ethan. I'd watch out for falling in love during a gathering. Hey. Ethan chuckled, shaking his head. I'm just trying to appreciate the culture. Culture, Marcus echoed dramatically. That's one way to put it. After several moments, Era returned, her arms laden with slender green stalks adorned with brilliant blossoms. Orks, she exclaimed, showing off her find. What is that? Harlow asked, peering at the plants curiously. Looks like something we can cook with, Ethan replied, leaning closer for a better look. Era carefully set down the stalks and gestured for Ethan to help her prepare them. Excitedly, he joined her, realizing how well they were beginning to collaborate. They worked side by side, mimicking each other as they cut and arranged the orks for cooking, sharing smiles and laughter. We can sauté these into the stew, can't we? Jenna suggested, glancing between Era and Ethan. Yes. More flavor. Marcus added, grinning widely as he stirred the pot. Watch out. It's going to be a feast fit for the stars. Harlow called, taking charge of the cooking duties. Ethan turned back to Era, who had focused intently on their work. This is so fun, he said quietly. Thank you for finding these. You really know how to bring everyone together. She looked up at him, a hint of shyness in her eyes as she mimicked the motion of weaving once more, connecting the flavors and experiences of their worlds just like they connected today. Together, Ethan reiterated, pleased by her gesture. It's a beautiful gathering, she replied softly, her expression warm. Just as things began to coalesce into a rhythm, they heard a familiar voice approach. Hey, guys. Ethan turned to see Hayes, flanked by some curious Cyralians with bright eyes and smiles, joining them in the clearing. Looks like you're hosting a party without us. Not quite yet. Jenna laughed, waving them over. We were just getting started. Any room for more? One of the Cyralians asked, their voice melodic. Definitely. Marcus replied, stepping aside. Join us, the more the merrier. As the new arrivals settled in around the fire, the energy in the clearing shifted, becoming a mixture of excitement and warmth. Conversations began to buzz, laughter mixing with the sizzle of the cooking food. Ethan, could you help us teach them some Earth food names? Jenna suggested, her eyes sparkling. Ethan nodded, heart racing as he realized just how many possibilities lay before them. Absolutely. We can connect our cultures through food. That's what makes this even more special. Era's eyes lit up and she mimicked a cooking motion, echoing Ethan's excitement. What do you call the mushroom soup? She asked, her words slow and clear. Mushroom stew. Ethan replied, demonstrating the word with animated gestures. Mushroom stew, the Cyralians echoed and laughter filled the air. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a tapestry of colors across the sky, the gathering blossomed into a celebration. Stories were shared, recipes exchanged, and laughter resounded through the clearing. Ethan felt a deep sense of fulfillment wash over him, realizing they were building bonds that crossed the boundaries of their worlds. Tension and uncertainty had given way to delight, friendship weaving through the air. Together, they transformed what could have been simply another mission into something extraordinary, a true celebration of life, connection, and the beauty of disparate worlds coming together. And as Ethan caught Era's gaze from across the fire, he felt a deep understanding, a whisper of something profound echoing between them. Together, they had created a vibrant tapestry, something none of them would forget.